Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But today is the 22nd of October 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting in the course of the show. We'll begin with the BRICS Plus Summit that is happening or the BRICS Summit that is happening in Kazan in Russia as we speak. It has begun today and will go for 3 days between the 22nd and the 24th of this month. It is the 16th BRICS Summit of its kind and a lot of important decisions regarding the countries that represent BRICS will be talked about and of course discussed in detail during the course of these 3 days. How important is the BRICS for the world order? How important is the BRICS for multipolarity? This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Middle East situation, and today of course is day 381 as we speak, and the situation hasn't gone to any positive front, let's put it that way. A lot of destruction, a lot of death that is happening not only in Palestine but also in Lebanon. The fact that Anthony Blinken is in Israel as we speak on his 11th visit to the Middle East to try to sort out some kind of situation as far as a ceasefire is concerned speaks volumes of what could happen or might not happen. This and more will be discussed as part of our second story. Then we are going to talk about the current account deficit that has shrunk by 92%. Good news as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned. And of course, steps in the right direction. The remittances have also increased in this month. This will be our third story. And finally, we'll be talking about the Karachi Biennale that is happening between the 27th of this month and the 10th of October. It is the biggest art festival of its kind, and it is the first time that there is a woman curator who is going to handle this Biennale in Karachi. This is the lineup for today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns the BRICS Summit, the 16th summit of its kind that is happening in Kazan in Russia. Started today and will go on till the 24th of this month. We've been joined by 3 guests to discuss this. We've been joined by Kaiyi. He's a reporter of CGTN, joins us from China. We'll also be joined by Andrei Kurtunov. He's an academic director, Russian International Affairs Council. And in the studios, we've been joined by our dear friend Khalid Taimur Akram, who's a foreign affairs expert and an expert as far as Central Asian countries is concerned. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Let's begin with Dai. Dai, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
All right. Thank you very much, Dai, to have given us the time. I'd like to understand what are the highlights of this 16th BRICS summit that has begun today in Kazan. What should we expect in these coming days?
Well, that's right. Thank you for having me. I have to say this is the first summit since the latest historic BRICS expansion, and it's also the first year of what its members called the Greater BRICS Cooperation. So, of course, we're talking about a group of countries with more than 40% of world's population, accounting for over 30% of global GDP and 20% share of global trade. It's indeed massive, and it matters to the world economy and development. And of course, this year, the key focus will continue to be further strengthening that global governance, a model of governance many believe would be characterized by joint decision-making, by consultation and shared benefits. And the major BRICS countries will continue to lead global south. That will continue to be the theme. We see that, the top leaders of BRICS member countries arrived. Many of them have arrived, and we can expect more updates in the following couple of days.
All right, Dai, I'd like to also understand many countries have evinced interest in joining this group that is known as BRICS, including Pakistan, that has also shown its deep interest in being part of BRICS Plus. Now, is this issue also going to be one of the topics that is going to be discussed in this summit in Kazan, and what could be the eventual decision taken in this regard?
Right, it's very likely to be on the agenda this time, and it's a really hot topic in terms of this year's BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia. And I have to say, in terms of this question, I have to mention that Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a recent press conference, actually answered when asked by media journalists in terms of BRICS' role, its influence after the expansion, and its contributions to the world. And he actually said, each of the newly joined countries is of interest and value to the world community, and of course to such groups as BRICS. And each of these countries actually has unique history, culture, and advantages in terms of a global division of labor. And the decision to accept those new countries, according to the Russian president, was no coincidence, because these are the countries and people, he said, they know well, with whom they collaborated, across various fields over a long period. So currently there are around 30 countries who expressed interests in further cooperating with the BRICS. So one thing is certain, according to Putin, is that, and I quote, "We will not turn anyone away. The doors are wide open." So it's highly likely they'll discuss that topic, the further expansion, in the following couple of days, and we'll certainly keep a close eye on that.
Thank you very much, Kaiyi, our correspondent from CGTN, joining us from Kazan in Russia. Thank you very much to have given us the time. Let's come up now to the studios. Khalid, Taimur, Akram Saab, our foreign affairs expert. What is the significance, Khalid Saab, of BRICS or BRICS Plus as far as the current global landscape is concerned? Also, what are the primary economic objectives? Because I understand that one of the major decisions that are being taken or have been taken within the ambit of the BRICS is that of economy and how to take the economy forward within the organization. What are these objectives that are set for this summit in Kazan?
Yes, thank you very much. These 3 days are going to be very, very historic because the BRICS expansion is happening at a time when there are lots of sanctions on Russia, and with the BRICS expansion there is a clear message to all the countries that irrespective of any kind of sanctions on any of the countries, the BRICS is expanding. We will see in the 16th summit that Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran and United Arab Emirates joining. So the BRICS is expanding not only in Africa but also in the Middle East. The BRICS basically has the agenda of multilateralism, and they have an agenda of establishing a union where the trade can become easy among the countries, where the currency exchange can become easy. BRICS has been talking about a single currency. There have been talks about a BRICS bank. They have been talking about a single trade regime within the BRICS countries. So I think that during the Kazan summit, we are going to see lots of happenings, lots of new collaborations being announced. And you were just talking to our friend in Kazan who said this thing, that Russian president has said that the BRICS is open to all the member, anybody who wants to become member. And right now 30 countries, as he told, are willing to join BRICS. So it means that if those 30 countries join, including Pakistan, so BRICS is going to be the biggest economic union in the world, because right now we have few examples of the economic unions, which is European Union is one of the main examples, but European Union is only restricted to one area. But this BRICS, we have countries from Asia, we have countries from Africa.
Around 35% of the world economy.
Yeah, world economy is there. But the point is this, that the BRICS countries are scattered all over the world. So maybe tomorrow Latin American countries will join. So this kind of multilateralism which is being developed by China and Russia together, and especially having the BRICS summit in Russia is like giving an answer to the Western sanctions, because we see Iran now getting membership, full membership of the BRICS. So if tomorrow Russia and Iran, China and Russia, they decide to cooperate in their own currencies. So this is again going to be one of the major points during this BRICS summit, that the BRICS countries should be doing their trade in their own currencies. As we know that China and Russia has already started this thing. Now the Chinese are doing their trade in Russia in ruble, and the Russians are doing in Chinese RMB. Similarly, the same thing they are going to start with Iran also. So very soon we will be seeing that this BRICS union, if they will not have their own currency, but they will be adopting each other's currencies. For Pakistan, I think joining BRICS will be of very much advantageous, because Pakistan is developing Gwadar Port. Gwadar Port is likely to become a hub connecting the the landlocked countries of Asia through Gwadar with African countries, with Middle Eastern countries. So Pakistan's presence in BRICS will not only facilitate these countries, but will also facilitate Pakistan in a sense that we will have more trade opportunities. We will go into the BRICS trade regime, which is going to be a very, very convenient single window operation in terms of custom clearances, in terms of transit trade, in terms of giving each other that leverage, that space that you can do trade without more of red tapeism among the BRICS countries. So I think that it's Pakistan's right decision to apply for BRICS, and hopefully once we'll go in the next summit next year, maybe Pakistan would become a full member.
All right. The theme this year of this summit is multilateralism, because this is also one point that you highlighted. Multilateralism for just global development and security. How do you feel this theme is well placed under the current geostrategic or geopolitical situation?
Yeah, as you know, that Chinese have always been talking about the concept of the community with shared future, the concept of a win-win situation for everyone. Very recently, we saw Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit happening in Pakistan. We saw that how Russia, China and all the SCO member states, they came to Pakistan, and it was also a sort of a multilateralism theme in which these countries got together, and they pledged that they are going to work together. So BRICS keeping the multilateralism theme is the need of the time, because we are seeing a Western polarization, because ever since the Russia-Ukraine war had started, ever since we had seen genocide happening in Gaza. So we have been seeing that few Western countries have been developing this narrative that either you are with us or you are against us. So at this point in time, when the world is seeing these kinds of narratives, when the social media is advocating either you are with us or you are not with us kind of narrative. So at this time, bringing this narrative of multilateralism, bringing this narrative of working together, bringing the narrative of the community with shared future gives a clear-cut message to every country in the world that China, Russia, the BRICS countries, the SCO countries, these countries are open for all kind of trade. These countries are open for all kind of multilateral cooperation, not only bilateral but multilateral cooperation, because as you know, because of the Belt and Road Initiative now, all the countries are connected. The land corridors are already made, the railway corridors are made, the maritime corridor is functioning. So once all these corridors are present now on ground after 10 years of Belt and Road Initiative, so now for next 10 years, you will see all the conferences will have this kind of agendas, multilateralism, coming together for joint trade agreements, having a single regime for all kind of activities.
Or Khalid Sahab, also reports are going to be delivered during the course of this Kazan summit by the new development bank, the Business Council, the Interbank Cooperation Mechanism and the Women's Business Alliance. Now these are 4 organizations that work under the ambit of the BRICS. How important is the role of these 4 in your point of view?
Yes, you have just mentioned about the 4 organizations, but BRICS in next 1 year, the BRICS is going to have 200 such meetings of various multilateral organizations which are working under BRICS. I feel that if you see the themes of all 4 organizations, it is based on one thing, which is finance and economy. So the major focus of BRICS for this summit and for times to come is to have more and more economic integration, because right now we have been seeing that many BRICS countries have been talking about de-dollarization.
Yes.
They are talking about that now we should getting rid of the dollar. We should our currencies should not be dependent on dollar. We should be having currency exchange agreements. We should be having more trade through our respective currencies. So I think
Khalid sahib, you talked about this de-dollarization. It's a very important movement that has begun within the ambit of BRICS and also within other such organizations. What could be the implications of de-dollarization on global finance in your point of view?
yes, it is going to have a lot of implication. As you know that right now we have three major commodities which determine any country's financial health. First is the gold, second is the dollar reserves, and third is the oil. So these three things are currently determining any country's wealth or the status of the wealth which is being determined through these three things. Gold, of course, it is going to stay at as it is because the currency rate is being determined on the gold reserves. Dollar reserve, yes, right now whenever we are talking about any country's wealth statement, I would say we talk in US dollars. But if tomorrow that thing start in your own currency, like Chinese would give their GDP not in US dollars but in RMB, Russians will talk only in rubles, we will talk only in rupees. So of course it will have a very major impact on the world economy. Yes, we will see that it will initially may create a divide between the Western countries and the BRICS countries, but ultimately I would say that maybe next 10 years or 20 years this has to happen because world is moving towards more multilateralism. The world through the Belt and Road Initiative, the world is getting connected with each other. Now people are saying that if I have to go to China, why should I buy US dollar and again go there and have a different exchange rate and get it changed? Why can't I buy RMB from Pakistan, go there and spend it? Because through this Belt and Road Initiative, now 155 countries are connected together through railway, through roads and through maritime. So if you are traveling from one country to another country, why not to buy that currency directly? Why to be dependent on a third currency? Yes, this dollar was very important maybe 50 years back or 100 years back, because at that time the countries were not financially connected. There was no internet, there was no, the international banking system was not connected. But now the complete international banking system is on your plastic card.
Yes.
You can just put in an ATM anywhere in the world and get that currency out, and it's online. So the more we are moving towards the digital currency, the more we are moving towards this kind of multilateral integration.
When you talk of digital currency, Khalid sir, what are the likely discussions that could be held in this Kazan summit as far as technology is concerned, innovation is concerned and digital economy is concerned?
That's very interesting, because right now if you go to China, nobody pays in any currency. Everyone, even you go to a small vendor, you pay through QR code. Your telephone is your bank, your telephone is your currency, your telephone is your ATM card. So China is practically has moved towards the digital transactions. The physical exchange of currency is very less. And we have seen in Russia that ever since the there are sanctions on Russia since last 2 years, we have seen that Russians have developed their own system now, because the Visa and Master and these kind of Western plastic cards do not work in Russia. So in last 2 years what they have done is that they have developed their own system of payments. They have developed their own interbanking system and they are very comfortable with that. So these kind of innovations which they are bringing in, once it is going to expand, we are going to see that we will move away, they are going to move away from these Western Visa card or MasterCard, these kind of thing. They are going to be moving away, and very soon we'll see this thing. like Iran. Iran has their own. If you go to Iran, you will have you will not be using any kind of Western plastic card. They have their own system of payments. So if tomorrow Iran and Russia sitting together on the same table with the other countries, which is going to happen tomorrow, because Iran will be attending for the first time this summit. Once they will be sitting together, so they are going to definitely bring up this point that why to depend on US dollar, why to depend on euro, why to depend on 2-3 currencies of the world, why not to have a multilateralism is basically have accepting each other as we are. We should be respecting each other's cultures, we should be respecting each other's independence, we should be respecting each other's traditions, and we should also be respecting each other's currencies.
All right. Now, also on the final day of the summit, there's going to be a BRICS Plus outreach format meeting with representatives from nearly 40 countries that will be attending, from the CIS, Asian countries, African countries, Middle Eastern countries, Latin American countries that you mentioned as well as heads of executive bodies from different international organizations. We've also hearing that the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, will also be attending. Now, the agenda includes discussions on international issues and, of course, what is happening in the Middle East, the interactions between the BRICS countries in the global south as far as sustainable development is concerned. How important is this gathering of so many different countries under the ambit of BRICS and to discuss issues such as sustainable development, and I'm sure the security situation in the Middle East is also going to be on the agenda.
Yes, we should first see that why is this happening now, because this is one of the major questions that it should be in everybody's mind, that why this is happening now. The main reason is this, that we know that China celebrated the 10 years of Belt and Road Initiative last year, and the actual Chinese plan for the completion of the infrastructure part of the Belt and Road Initiative was 12 years. So the 12 years they are going to complete in 2025. So by 2025, most of the infrastructure part of the BRI will get completed.
All right.
So now what next? The next is start trade, start people-to-people collaboration, start more and more education expansion, start more and more like you come to my country, I go to your country. So these kind of activities are going to start. So for China, what are the platforms which China will be using for all kind of these interactions? And how will China encourage the other countries? Because China does not believe in colonization. China does not believe that they force you to do something. So China will be using this platform of BRICS. They are already advocating through the platform of Shanghai Cooperation Organization to have more and more collaboration. Here I would like to mention those 3 important agendas of President Xi Jinping: the Community of Shared Future, Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, and Global Development Initiative.
All right. Thank you very much, Khalid Saab, to have joined us, and of course for this segment, and you will also remain with us for the second segment that concerns the situation as far as the Middle East is concerned. It's the raid 381 of the Israel-Palestine, the Israel-Yemen, Israel-Lebanon, Israel-Syria conflict. We continue to be joined by Khalid Taimur Akram Sahab, who's a foreign affairs expert, but we'll also be joined by another guest during the course of this segment. Khalid Sahab, I'll begin again with you, but I'll begin with a local aspect to this all. I mean, from a Pakistani aspect. Our Prime Minister has again appealed to the nation, especially to those who have the necessary resources to actively donate to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund for Gaza and Lebanon. This was said on a special meeting on Gaza and Lebanon that the Prime Minister chaired. He also directed to immediately send 2 planes of humanitarian aid to Lebanon and Gaza, in which relief goods will be also sent, and he said Pakistan is sending tents, clothes, blankets, medicines, food items for those who have been affected by this aggression in Gaza as well as in Lebanon. How important is the humanitarian aid that countries like Pakistan are sending to Palestine? How important is that, this backing of the Palestinians? How much do they need it in this time?
First of all, as you know, Pakistan has a very, very clear stance on Palestine. We do not recognize Israel, and we have always been standing with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. I would also like to make a special mention of the recently held all parties conference, which was presided over jointly by the President of Pakistan and the Prime Minister. I think that was a very good gesture in which not only the government allies they came, but Prime Minister especially invited all the opposition parties, and I think that was a very clear message, a message of unity going to the world, that whether you are in opposition, you are in government, all the Pakistani political leadership which represents the people of Pakistan, they are together on one platform and there was one voice. So that was very heartening to see that one political voice going out of Pakistan to the world for the Palestinian people, for stopping this genocide. So and as you have mentioned that after that 2 days back, after that conference, now 2 days back, PM had a special meeting to review the humanitarian aid, and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has been having these meetings on a very regular basis, and he has been appealing directly to the people of Pakistan to donate more and more for the Palestinian people. Whether it is less aid or more aid, the main aim is that once it goes to the people over there with the Pakistani flag, it gives them a satisfaction that there are people on the other side of the world in Pakistan, they are with them. So because right now no aid can be enough for them, because right now Gaza and all the Palestinian areas are just rubble on the ground. So right now no matter what kind of aid you send, it's not going to be enough, because there is no food over there, there's no medicine over there. We see every day that the Israelis are carrying out, every day the genocide is increasing and increasing. But the kind of aid which Pakistan is sending to Lebanon, to Palestine, this gives a very clear-cut message that where we are standing, and whatever we can do for them diplomatically, whatever we are doing for them humanitarianly, we are doing it and we are going to keep on doing it.
All right. We've also been joined by Arnaud Develay. He is an international jurist and political consultant and author. Arnaud, thank you very much to have joined us. Let's talk a little bit about Lebanon, because we see a lot of skirmishes now happening. What is happening in Gaza is happening, but what is happening is Lebanon is very new for the Lebanese. And when you look at the way the skirmishes are happening in Lebanon, the way the bombardments are happening in Lebanon, and also the way Hezbollah is also reacting through missile attacks now in Tel Aviv, which was of course in a state of alert as a result of that as well. How do you see the Israel-Lebanon situation developing in the coming days? Do you feel there's some kind of respite in the offing, or is it going to get worse?
Well, I think it's a mistake to think that with the assassination of Syed Nasrallah, Hezbollah as an organization is down and out. Quite the opposite, actually. If one does believe that one man will make a difference, one is mistaken. The resistance, Lebanese resistance, has been structured in such a way that notwithstanding the assassination of one of its top leaders, the organization can keep on functioning. And not just functioning, but retaliate and carry on the mandate of protecting Lebanon's sovereignty. I would add to that that Hezbollah has gained immense experience during the Syrian conflict, and that it has now upward to 100,000 missiles, a whole series of very highly sophisticated drones, pinpoint accuracy ballistics arsenal, and as we've seen since the beginning of the Zionist entity invasion of southern Lebanon and bombarding of Lebanon indiscriminately, Hezbollah has absorbed the initial onslaught and is now retaliating and taking out a lot of Zionist soldiers. Although the Zionist entity goes out of its way to try to conceal the exact amount of casualties, make no mistake about it, Hezbollah is giving as much as it receives.
What about Gaza? What about Palestine? When you look at the number of casualties that keeps on increasing, and the latest numbers is 42,718, and this is just an official figure. The actual figure might be 5-6 times more than that. And then you look at the situation as far as the hospitals is concerned, there's the famine is concerned, the lack of any kind of facilities is concerned, the blocking of facilities or aid to these people is concerned. What do you foresee as far as Palestine is concerned?
Well, unfortunately, I foresee more tragic loss of life. You accurately underline that the official figure of 45,000 is most likely but a fraction of the total amount of casualties, owing to the people that have not been recovered, who are buried under the rubble, and all those who lost their lives owing to horrendous conditions bearing on poor hygiene, lack of medical care, and of course famine. The Lancet a few months back mentioned something like 186,000. This was back in May or June. So it's easily conceivable that the total amount of casualty in Gaza right now could pretty much over around 250,000 casualties. So unfortunately, I don't believe this is going to end, because as we mentioned earlier, in the case of Nasrallah and the Lebanese resistance, the assassination of Mr. Sinwar is not going to be the end of the resistance in Gaza. Hamas has a lot of capabilities, and the murder of Mr. Sinwar is obviously going to galvanize the Palestinian resistance. So, but in the meantime, since the Zionist entity is adopting a double-down strategy, lashing out to the extent it benefits from U.S. material support, diplomatically, and in terms of weapons being funneled, they will continue and try to extend hostilities in the regions with the ultimate aim of provoking Iran into basically a major retaliation on the basis of what they intend themselves to do, and they are pretty vocal about it, which is to launch a comprehensive air attack on Iran's oil facilities, and counting on the Iranian response to drag, that's at least the calculus, drag the United States into the conflict.
All right, Arnaud, stay online with us. Khalid Saab, coming to you. When Arnaud mentioned Iran, now the Iranian president said that the ongoing conflict cannot end by killing one or two people, but will end by establishing justice. Iranian foreign minister is saying that neighboring countries have pledged that they will not allow the use of their soil or airspace for any attack from the Israeli side on the Iranian territories. He is of course visiting different countries for this very regard, to to get as much of support as possible. What's going to happen in your point of view as far as the Israel-Iran conflict is concerned, or their tensions is concerned? Do you feel that Israel will ultimately attack Iran?
No, Israel is not going to attack Iran, but Israel is going to, Israel will not be listening to any country till the US elections, because Israel practically feels that they have a free hand for another, say, around 40 days. Because of the US election, the complete US administration is busy in the election, and they are practically keeping their eyes closed towards Israel, because as we know that both the parties in America, they are being their major source of funding from the Jews organization. So this time, I have been saying this before also, that this is, Israel sees this as an ideal time to kill more and more leadership of Hezbollah and other organizations, which they have been doing, and they will keep on doing, whether the neighboring countries agree or not. If they will be attacking more targets in Lebanon, they will be attacking more targets in Syria, they may be attacking more leadership of Hamas and Hezbollah in Iran. If somebody is there in Iran, they will not stop. But yes, of course, they will stop short of a direct war with Iran, because this thing that whether going to war with Iran or not war with Iran, this decision is going to be based on the American concurrence. Will the Americans allow Israel to start a full-fledged war with Iran? I think right now America is not in position to allow Israel to start this war, because if this war will start, then Russia is going to jump in, then other regional countries are going to jump in. What is going to be the response of the Middle East? What is going to be the response of Saudi Arabia and other neighboring countries of Iran like Pakistan? So Americans have weighed all the response, and we have seen that every time Israel starts an escalation with Iran, they would stop to the target killing.
But Khalid sahab, the fact is also that the THAAD missiles have been, installed as far as Israel is concerned, and Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin says that this advanced US missile defense battery is now in place in Israel. Is that just a threat then for Iran, or is there something more to it?
I personally think that this is just a threat. This is a threat so that Iran, the retaliation from the Iran side is not as such as they anticipate. And secondly, most of the statements, if we see, they are deterrent statements, because every day the Israelis attack 2-3 targets and then they give a very strong statement against Iran. Then we see this is happening every day. We see the pattern of last 1 month. We see one, they are targeting civilian populations. Two, they are targeting the leadership of Palestine, whether it belongs to any faction. They are targeting all the leadership. Somehow they have been able to buy the people from within various factions, because they are pinpointing at the leadership, and they are wiping out all the leadership. So once by the time Israel would be ready to sit with the Palestine after the US elections, at that time maybe there is no Palestinian resistance leadership there. Maybe a third level or a fourth level leadership there, which would maybe agree to the Israeli settlement plan or Israeli peace plan. So these all things, I would say, they are just speculations right now. Right now, the need of the time is that how to stop Israel for doing all these things. And this cannot be done. We have seen that this cannot be done without the direct intervention of the United States.
I agree with you on that. Last question to you, Arnaud Develay. Arnaud, I'd like to understand, Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, is in Israel as we speak, and this is his 11th trip to Israel since the 7th of October to try to diffuse the tension. I mean, one way or the other, maybe through a ceasefire. That we all remember the 3-point ceasefire agenda that Joe Biden had, talked about many a times in the last months, but it has never been implemented. Although the reaction from Hamas or Hezbollah has always been very positive as far as this is, but it is Israel always that has wanted to stop it one way or the other. Now Israel also sends the White House a list of demands that it wants fulfilled before it will even consider a ceasefire in Lebanon, which freedom of its air force to operate in Lebanon's airspace, to carry out active enforcement in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. What is the future? This is what I want to understand. What is the future of any kind of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Palestine or Israel and Lebanon?
Well, first, unfortunately, I would say that it's a charade. It's a comedy of enforced terror, but everyone is playing a definite role. You have to remember that Netanyahu is in a very precarious political situation at home, going back to a judicial reform which a large swath of the Israeli population rejected, and for which some might be tempted to speculate the operation on 7th of October was somewhat allowed to happen, to provide him with the opportunity to change the paradigm of the political scene in Israel. And so, bearing on the fact that he is now heading a war cabinet, Netanyahu has no incentive in implementing, agreeing to any kind of ceasefire, whether it be with Lebanese resistance or the Palestinian resistance. What he wants, on the contrary, and it's actually very clear if we listen to some of his most prominent cabinet member, is to expand what he considers, and he said it himself, he wants to implement the Book of Joshua. The Book of Joshua calls for the extension of the war by Israel against its perceived enemies, with the final goal of establishing Greater Israel. This is not a coincidence. So you have to understand the Zionist mindset. They don't function according to international law. Emmanuel Macron recently attempted to remind Netanyahu that Israel was founded by a UN resolution back in 1947. Immediately, Macron was reminded that no, Israel is not just a mere legal construct formulated by the United Nations. It's a biblical promise. So, to the extent one does not understand the Zionist mindset and how they perceive their legal constraints, one cannot understand why Israel seems to be willingly acting in such a way so as to be considered a pariah in the international community. So I would expect the situation to actually escalate. To the extent Blinken is playing the good cop to Netanyahu's bad cop, they're all basically working together. And Blinken is not serving in the interest of the United States in that respect, but more so that of the Jewish state, since he basically early on into the game visited Israel, Tel Aviv, and he said, the first thing he said, I come here as a Jew, I don't come here as a U.S. Senior federal official. So the idea that there would be some kind of attempt through the State Department to bring some measure of appeasement or a peaceful resolution to the conflict is an optical mistake. One has to be straightforward, looking at things for what it is. Anthony Blinken is running cover for the Netanyahu regime, and until this genocidal U.S. administration is removed and all the federal officials in the State Department are called out for the action as complicit in the genocide going on in Gaza and the uncalled for and completely illegal invasion of an aggression of Lebanon, there won't be any possibility to look at the situation in a different prism than the one I just described.
All right. Thank you very much, Arnaud Develay, to have joined us and to have discussed this conflict that keeps on expanding in the Middle East between Israel and all the other countries, whether it be Palestine or whether it be Lebanon. Thank you very much to have joined us. And of course, Khalid Taimur, Akram Saab, thank you very much to have stayed on with us during the entire show, to have discussed BRICS and of course the Palestine conflict as well. And we'll continue to bother you in the days to come as well. Let's come to our last two stories very, very quickly. The first is the current account deficit that has shrunk by 92%. It has posted, the current account has posted a surplus of $119 million in September for the second consecutive month, while the current account deficit has narrowed by 92% in the first quarter of the fiscal year 2025. This is data that has been provided by the State Bank of Pakistan, and they also talk about current account deficit of 98 million against 1.2 billion of the same period in the previous fiscal year. Not only that, the remittances have also increased as far as the Pakistan is concerned. Of course, these are good signs as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the fourth edition of the Karachi Biennale, which is Pakistan's largest contemporary art exhibition, is going to begin in Karachi from the 27th of this month. In a couple of days' time, will continue till the 10th of November. But it is for the first time that the exhibition is going to be held by a female curator, Wahida Baloch, who is a professor at the University of Sindh in Jamshore. It's going to be interesting because there are going to be many different countries that will be participating in it. Of course, Pakistan will also be participating full time with different artistic exposures that will be present there. So do give it, go do and watch it and observe this Biennale as it happens starting on the 27th of this month, if you get the opportunity to go there. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.